Today's video is a video that we're going to use to go over two religions, Buddhism and Hinduism. Our speaker is coming in on Thursday to talk to us about Islam, Christianity, and Judaism, and this video will focus on the other two. As you can see, the objectives here are to develop a basic understanding of those two religions, to clear up any misconceptions we may have found during research. I know a lot of that stuff was brand new as we were searching, so we had no idea what was true and what wasn't. So we'll try and clear up some of that. And we also want to apply knowledge of these religions to areas where they are practiced, areas where you would find those religions today. First of all, we will look at Buddhism. The symbol that you will see there is a common symbol in Buddhism. This wheel is one that you will find quite often. Buddhism is a religion that began in India in about 500 BC. Now, as we're going through some of this stuff on this video, I would ask that you have out a couple of things. Have out your chart that we have used as we've been doing this project, and fill in anything that is not filled in, cross out, change anything that you may have filled in before. And secondly, I would have out or have open on another tab, somehow have open your OneNote notes for social studies, and there is a section to put information about Buddhism and about Hinduism. So that is the first thing, that it began in India at about 500 BC. Countries where you will find it today are these here: China, Japan, Vietnam are the main three, also in Laos, Thailand, and Myanmar. And it was a religion that was founded by this man, Siddhartha Gautama. He is a man that later came to be known as Buddha. This is the guy that is Buddha, but in the beginning he was just an ordinary man. Kind of the story goes that Siddhartha was a wealthy man, a prince in fact, who lived in luxury. One day walking down the street, he saw three different people. He saw a sick man, he saw a corpse, a man that was dying and laying in the street, and he saw a holy man. And he believed that seeing these three things was a sign to him that life involved sickness, it involved aging, and it involved death. And that began to kind of put him on a path to seek out what caused all these things and why these things were a part of life. As I said, he believed that seeing these things was a sign, and in fact it was also a sign that life was about human suffering, and that we were supposed to seek the cause of this human suffering. And he became a monk. And as a monk, he searched to try and answer these questions, and became very wise and very knowledgeable. So wise, in fact, that kind of the story of him began to grow. People, as I said, began to call him the Buddha, which means the enlightened one. It is important to know, though, that Buddha, even though he is a central figure, an important person in this religion, he is not considered a god. Buddhists, in fact, do not believe in a god at all. It's the only one out of the big five religions where they do not believe in a god. Although Buddha had once studied Hinduism, something that's popular in Hinduism is the caste system. It's the system of people who are higher or more important than other people, and their kind of levels of importance of people. That's something that we'll see in Hinduism, but it's not something that Buddha believed in. He rejected this idea. This is kind of that Hindu caste system. They have at the top, it's kind of tough to see here, but they have priests at the top, soldiers and rulers on the next level, merchants, farmers, craftsmen on the next level, menial laborers. Those are just like people who work in the fields, doing simple tasks. We're at the next level. And then at the bottom is untouchables. These are people who are considered to be literally untouchable. You do not want to touch them. You do not want to be near them. You don't want to be around them. They were believed to be just inferior in every way. So you will see untouchables as the population that was in the streets, that was poor, that was homeless oftentimes, that lived in their own kind of area of society. The untouchables is also a large population. You can see that this is at the bottom of the pyramid. It's a pretty large chunk, unfortunately. Buddhism, on the other hand, like I said, it did not follow that caste system. They believed in what are called four noble truths. These noble truths, number one, are that life is full of pain. Pretty pleasant, right? That is the belief that Buddha developed. Secondly, they believe that this pain and this suffering comes from people's desire for their own possessions, kind of their own selfishness. Third, they believe that if people stop desiring these possessions, if they stop being so selfish, they will no longer suffer. They believe that the goal is to be free from these desires and from this pain, and they call that, if you can achieve that place, they call that nirvana. And that's the goal, to reach this place of kind of nirvana, this spiritual place where you are not selfish at all. Nirvana is complete happiness and complete peace. You will see here in this picture an example of a Buddha. You can find Buddhas that look like anything and everything under the sun. You will find some that are almost have like a large belly, kind of big, almost like a fatter, chunky Buddha. You will find some that are thinner like that. I mean, there's just a ton of varieties of Buddhas. This one, if you look at it, has some things that are common to a lot of them. It has this round arc that surrounds its head, almost like a halo, and that is put there intentionally. It's put there on purpose to signify that this Buddha is somebody who is really important, really special. You will find that the ears of this Buddha kind of hang longer, and there's a reason for that as well. If somebody was extremely wealthy, they would wear jewelry, they would wear earrings, even if whether they were male or female. Especially the males would wear heavier ones that were made of more important and more special materials if they were wealthier. And so the fact that these ears are long, it signifies that this Buddha has at one time worn heavier earrings that have stretched out its ears. So it's a signal that this Buddha is wealthy, is important, is special. You can see all the things around here have meaning as well. The art was incredibly important to Buddhist culture. Their fourth belief is that people can escape suffering by following something called the middle way. That is how they try and work toward this state of nirvana. And as we said, the goal of Buddhism is to achieve nirvana. Now, I want to show you just some pictures of some Buddhist people so we can kind of have a visual of this as well. This is a typical picture of, you can see younger Buddhist children. Very simple dress, just a simple robe. You can see shaved heads, again, to signify simplicity. Similar thing, just a large picture of those children again. This is an example of a Buddhist temple. They do not all look like this, but this is an example. You can't tell it by looking, but this is a temple that is in the United States. This is a temple that is actually in a city in Colorado. Here's some Buddhists that you may or may not have heard of. Jackie Chan, an actor, is a Buddhist. He was in, I can't think of movies off the top of my head that he was in. Rush Hour movies, I think, all kinds of them. But Jackie Chan is a Buddhist. This gentleman is no longer living, but was an actor and martial artist as well. Bruce Lee is his name. This is a footprint where Buddha once walked. And you will find this in a museum. It's considered to be really, really sacred. So that is Buddhism. Now, to shift gears, I want to highlight a few things about Hinduism. Now, these two are on these slides, or on this video together, not because there are a ton of similarities. Keep in mind that Hinduism and Buddhism are very different. There are some things that are similar, but they are very different religions. One of the similarities is that they were both founded in India, and that is still a country where they are practiced a lot. This is a big difference, however. Hinduism is the only one out of the big five religions that is called a polytheistic religion. Be sure to put that term in your notes. To define it, polytheism is just the belief in many gods. Hindus believe in many, many gods. We'll highlight some of them at the end of this, but there are a lot, hundreds of them. This guy, Mohandas Gandhi, is a gentleman that is perhaps the most famous Hindu that has ever lived. He is just a guy who really changed the country of India, helped lead it to its independence from Great Britain, but he is a key figure in their religion. Now, here's an example of a Hindu temple in the United States. Again, you will see that both those religions, Hinduism and Buddhism, do exist in the United States, even if they may not be real popular here. And they both have a place of worship that is called a temple. Here's a picture of a cow. Now, a cow is considered to be sacred by the Hindu people. It is not something that they worship, although it's pretty close. You can see a quote down there, and this is a quote from their holy book. It says, "There is no sin in eating meat, but abstention brings great rewards." It means you don't get in trouble if you eat meat, but they say it's better off if you stay away from it. And so they try and live a life that stays away from that. There are reasons for that, and we'll touch on those here shortly. Their holy book is called the Vedas, and if you translate that, it means books of knowledge. Here's a page from those Vedas. You can see very different language. Looks really different from what an English book would look like. Now, some beliefs. First, they believe in the idea of karma. What goes around comes around. They say that whatever happens, your actions, they have consequences, they have effects, and they can even determine what your life will be like after death. Along those lines, they believe in the idea of reincarnation or rebirth. They believe that after death, your soul is reborn into a different body. Now, that body could be something that is higher up and more important, or it could be something that is lesser. That's why many Hindus do not eat meat. They believe that animal could have at one time been a person, could have one time been somebody extremely important who is reborn into that body. So they are very careful about those things. They're very careful about even things like insects, all that they are extremely careful about. Kind of two other things along those lines. They believe that a person who lives a virtuous life will be reborn as a wealthy or wise person. So if you live in that way, it will pay off. They also believe a person who lives an immoral life will be reborn as a poor or sick person, possibly even an animal. Here are Hindu gods and goddesses. Just a few examples. Like I said, there are hundreds, but here are a few. Brahma is considered to be the god of creation. This is not known that Brahma looks like this, but this is one artist example. They believe that Brahma is a three-headed god. Vishnu is another god, a god of life or sustainment. Just a few others. Shiva is the god of destruction. And this is perhaps my favorite. Ganesh or Ganesha is the god of success and happiness. Just an awesome / a little bit different looking god than what we would imagine. Okay, so that is just a few bits of information about Buddhism and Hinduism. The key thing that we want you to think about with those is how that affects the life of people who live there and who follow those religions. We find things about people that live in India or people that live in China, just different from the way that we live. And it is different. But a lot of times there are reasons for that, and this is one big reason, the religion that they practice and follow. Be sure that you record this information in your notes and on your sheet, and we will refer back to it later.